Hello, my name is Emily McLaughlin. Welcome. We have a special guest joining us today. Her name is Cambry Foster. Say hello, Cambry.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been studying for a test that I had today, so I went to that class. And then I came back and laid in bed and did some online shopping.
Really? Where do you usually online shop?
Usually like American Eagle, Shein, and Amazon are like my main 3 websites I probably go to.
Oh, I love Amazon. And American Eagle is just like too expensive now.
Yeah.
It feels like it's getting so much more expensive.
It is getting.
So do you know about, speaking of Shein, do you know a lot about like fast fashion?
Not really too much.
But like you've heard about it?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Like what do you know about it? Like just the word?
I know that like the labor stuff, but I've only really heard about it in like with Nike, but that's not really fast fashion. So I guess I don't really know what it is.
But that's okay. I honestly didn't know what it was for the longest time. I used to. How old are you?
I'm 20.
So in high school, at your high school, did you like, we're about the same age, so did y'all, like when COVID happened was kind of when I feel like it spiked, Shein kind of spiked up. Is that when you would say it kind of happened too? Maybe a little bit earlier than that though.
Yeah, I think it was like whenever online shopping became big.
Yeah.
So that was like the cheapest for a 16-year-old.
Right. And I think it was like, I just remember a lot of people like always talking about like, that's where they got their swimsuits from and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I always remember. But like, and I remember always being like the little lunch table when we were all ordering from Shein, and it was, looking back a little pathetic, but a lot of people just don't know what it is. And at that point, I didn't honestly know what it is. And a lot of people will continue to order from Shein until they know. But then my first year of college, I went to like New York fashion school, and that was like one of the biggest things they taught us. And it was like about, like sustainability and what fast fashion is and how it affects us and all of the things. Well, a lot of people, and this is probably something you know too, is more so like the environmental effect that fast fashion has on us. Do you know like anything about that?
Some of my speech class said that it was like something about like it causes pollution.
Yeah, that's so like it's fast fashion is like one of the largest polluters now because there's so many. I mean, I know we're just focusing on Shein because that is where you order from, and one of the biggest ones. Well, like there's just so many other contributors like H&M. You wouldn't think H&M, but H&M is honestly another bigger one that goes with it, and it's anything that like produces at the pace that these places produce. They are the first. They're the brands that are right on top of the trend. They're there before anybody, and it's already out there, and it's cheap too. And think about it, and it's just like easily accessible to like anybody. I mean, you download the app, you order it, and how long would you say it took your packages if you ordered from Shein? Like how long did it take to come in?
Sometimes it would take like a month, and then like other times it would take like maybe a week.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the, like, why is there a difference?
Yeah.
Like, and it might be like quantity. Did like some of your packages have like just like a lot?
Well, usually those came in faster. It was like the ones that were like, it was like the clothes that were like in season. Like if I were to order like swimsuits in the summer,
right?
Take longer.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense because they're like high. Well, I was reading an article from Vogue, and I'm always like really big on reading those kind of articles. And it was talking about fast fashion. So of course I clicked on it because the more I've learned about it and I've known the effects it's had, like the more I want to learn about it, So have you ever heard of like the labor workers or like anything to do with like labor workers overseas or like in certain brands and manufacturers?
Just a little bit. Like with what I said, the Nike sweatshops, but that's really the only one I've ever heard about. And I didn't really even read into it.
Right. Well, labor workers are like, especially in factories and like Shein, and this is what it was talking about, is like the workers are being like exploited deeply. And you come to think of it, like there's never been really, well, there has, but there hasn't. Like these employees, these workers that do come out and they do say something about like their working conditions and everything like that, they can't say too much because they can't go without a job, right? So then you think of it like you don't want to order from these places because you don't want them exploiting workers, but then you don't want to not order from these places because these workers will go without a job. So it's kind of like 50-50, right? So like, what's your take on that? You know, like the exploitation of workers, or, you know, putting them out of a job. Like, what would you like think about that? Like, what do you have to say?
Well, I do like feel like bad that it is like they're put in that situation, because I know that there's probably so many people out there that are in that situation where they can't find another job because there isn't enough out there, or they didn't get the right education because they didn't have the money for it or something.
Right.
So, I mean, now that I know about it, I will probably never order from Shein again, because I do, you know, feel bad. Like, I feel like there should be a different way of making money for them.
Right, like a different approach.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because the amount of workers that are working for this person. Well, I actually was watching, I think it was Nightline. It's on Hulu, and it's Unboxing Shein is what it's called. And a lot of it had to talk about, you know, like these independent brands and these independent people, you know, are designers, and Shein is stealing these people's designs. And it's like, you can't, if you're not a big name person, you can't do much about it, right? Because this company's, you know, making millions. I mean, and so
yeah, they come up with like trends very fast. Like if a new trend comes up, they like are making it the next day.
Yeah, they're already ahead of it. They're already watching.
Yeah.
A part of the documentary was talking about like how I think it might have been a worker from Shein. Either it was a worker or somebody that had worked there, or somebody that just knows a lot about it, right? They were talking, and it was talking about how they do like data, like analysis. Like they are constantly, you know, analyzing what people are wearing and what's working and what's not, and they're quick with it. Is that not like crazy?
Yeah.
Like I know most fashion companies do this, but this place was like, Shein is crazy. Like they are doing it.
Yeah, it's very surprising for like, you know, how cheap they are, that they do come
like
out.
That they care about stuff like that, right? It's like, why? Like what?
Like almost like a fashion genius.
Yeah, and did you know that they've never ever seen, like, the person that owns Shein, they've never even seen a picture of this guy.
You have actually never heard about him.
Yeah, is that not like creepy? Like no one thinks about that. No one thinks about the CEOs and who owns this stuff. Like who's behind all this madness? Like nobody thinks about that. Yeah. And it was kind of creepy because in documentary it was like just like a figure, and I was like, and it's just so weird.
Yeah, and they probably like, he probably doesn't even want to show his face.
No, he probably doesn't, especially because the amount of lawsuits he's gotten. Like I think at one point of it they were showing like the lawsuits of all the companies that are suing him for taking, you know, I mean, you've seen Shein clothes. I mean, if they're not the best quality sometimes, but they are almost replicas of stuff. Almost
very copyrighted.
Yeah, very copyright. Which is another thing they were talking about. But you said, now that you've learned a little bit about it and we've talked a little bit about it, that you weren't going to order from Shein again, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that, you know, is so hard because like it's hard to like inform people about the situation and how it affects and how it does it. It's almost hard to put it into words. Like you would have to read the articles, you would have to read the sources to know everything, but it's like to put into words how it's affecting the world is like uncomprehendable, because
well, most people probably don't even like think about the other people's lives, because they're probably like, well, it's not my life, so
right,
why would it matter to me? And just being a college student with like probably no money, like
Yeah.
most of us are.
Right.
It's just so much easier to, click that button and just buy it.
And like be in style, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, and that's a good point. Like people can be so stuck in their ways about stuff. So it's like whether they know the effects and they don't care.
Yeah.
Like they don't care. It's not affecting their life personally, and they just don't care. Which it's sad, but it's the truth, and that comes out in a lot of different things. But like, you can't change someone's mind. You just can't. If they're stuck, they can't. And I mean, that's just how the world turns. But I'm so glad you came on this podcast with me and took the time out of your day. I really do appreciate it.
Of course, I'm glad I got to learn about something that I was doing.
Yeah,
That was
no.
bad.
No. See, I didn't want it to come off across like that. I heard you said Sheen, and I was like, oh, let's roll with it.
Yeah.
And it is nice to inform people because, like I said, I was once in your shoes, and once you do learn about it, you get kind of this guilty feeling of like, why did I never know this before?
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault. I mean, it's not taught. It's not educated, and it's just.
Yeah, I'm surprised I've never seen it before, especially with social media. No influencers or anything are talking about it. So.
Oh, that's actually there's the crazy thing about the influencers right now. There's been influencers. I mean, they get backlash at some point, but from the people that do know about fast fashion. But there's influencers that are sponsored by Shein. And I personally didn't even know you could be sponsored by Shein, I didn't think that they went in that realm. But there's, people, influencers that post about their Shein packages, and that's...
Yeah, they're probably getting paid more than the people there.
I mean,
too.
Yeah, no, seriously. And that's how does that even work? To promote something so awful. And I think there's definitely just changes that... Shein could be a good company. Mm-hmm. Shein can change their ways. There's a way around it. People have a money mindset, and that's just how it will always be. But I mean, anyway, we could go on forever about this topic. But again, thank you so much for being on this podcast, and I really appreciate it. And I hope that you did take something away from it.
Of course, I did, definitely.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. That's gonna be it for today. Hope y'all have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.